to get to the Cullis Gate in the middle of Darkwood. The gate will only open when its hunger for undead souls is sated. You need to find the ruined abbey now. That magical barrier wasn't there before. It explains what I just found in the guild. Meet me in Maze's quarters. I found a book that may help. The book! Don't forget the book!
Whilst playing Fable and Fable the Lost Chapters, our character will reach a point in the game's storyline where you must investigate the Old Kingdom Abbey that can be found at the top left-hand corner of Hook Coast. After giving Arben's Thaumaturgica to the Guildmaster...
Good. Now quickly, give me the Thaumaturgica. When you approach the barrier to Hook Coast Abbey, I shall contact you on your guild seal.
We are ready to use a Cullis Gate to return to the town and remove the magical barrier. Upon our arrival in Hook Coast, we find out that the town is actually being attacked by Screamers. It is here that we find out that Maze is actually working for the antagonist of the game, Jack of Blades, and is helping him to retrieve the Septimal Key, an Old Kingdom artifact that is required to open the focus sites that are scattered around Albion. Once the cutscene is finished, we are forced into a boss fight with Maze, the greatest will user of his time. However, did you know that there is evidence to support the fact that this part of the game was actually meant to play out differently at one point in Fable's development? From the trophy that you get for defeating Maze to the unused dialogue that can still be found in the game's data, there are a few changes that were made to the quest before the final version was released. Hello there, my name is Avarice, and join me as we analyse all of the cut content that I could find for the Wizard Battle quest in Fable. Hidden deep in the game files for Fable the Lost Chapters lies thousands of lines of text entries and dialogue for cutscenes. I'm not exaggerating either, just look at all of these. This is why it may come to no surprise to you that there is still a lot of unused dialogue left on the disc that I haven't really seen other people bring up in places like forums and on modding sites for the game. Our first set of dialogue involving Hook Coast is what is known as Villager Gossip. This is the dialogue that villagers will say to the main character based on what type of quest is currently available. So, if you have the Wasp Menace quest activated for example, then the villagers will comment on the swarm of wasps that are attacking the picnic area. This will keep happening until the quest is completed, where it will be replaced by gossip for the next quest, and so on and so on.
You want to get to the harvest clock, sort out their trouble?
I'd like to thank my friend and fellow Fable modder, Albion Secrets, for informing me about this set of Villager Gossip dialogue and sending me an audio version for each of them. These text entries are labelled as AI Gossip in Hook Coast, Pre Battle, Post Dragon, and appear to be various lines of dialogue that were intended for villagers who are both outside of Hook Coast and living inside of the town during a specific quest. They seem to be warning about the dangers that are coming from the Old Kingdom Abbey. It also suggests that whatever this battle in Hook Coast was intended for, it may have been before or after fighting a dragon. Here is each line of dialogue that is currently available in the retail version of Fable, but are never used in the game.
Hook Coast! You must get to Hook Coast!
Run to Hook Coast! You can stop things!
You should get to Hook Coast!
There's something wrong at Hook Coast. Strange beings have been seen heading there.
You won't catch me going up to Hook Coast. Not never again.
Something's wrong over at Hook Coast. The time is approaching. Hell is coming to Hook Coast!
Once this place was peaceful. Now it's being torn apart.
Run! Save yourself! Hook Coast is getting destroyed!
Hook Coast isn't a safe place to be. Flee while you have the chance.
Albion's being ripped up. Lights and noises at the Abbey.
The world's coming to an end!
As I alluded to earlier, it appears that these text entries were intended for shopkeepers and villagers during a specific quest that would occur in the town of Hook Coast. The fact that one of these lines of dialogue mentions strange beings heading there leads me to assume that it could be from an earlier version of the boss fight with Maze, as they could be referring to the screamers that are attacking the town at the start of the quest. This also suggests that the villagers in Hook Coast wouldn't have been evacuated from the town like they are in the final version of the game. Perhaps they intended for you to complete some side quest where you could choose to rescue the villagers from the screamers. It's possible that this is more than just a coincidence too, as I was able to find even more dialogue that seems to be intended for this part of the quest. In order to understand how I found this dialogue though, I need to explain to you how quests are numbered in the game. Each quest has a number. However, they aren't listed in order of when you play them. For example, the quests you perform in Oakville during the childhood portion of the game aren't numbered as Quest 001 like you would typically expect. Instead, the theory is that each quest is numbered based on when they were actually created in the game by the developers. Using the Wizard Battle quest as another example, every text entry that this quest uses is listed as Quest 075. This could imply that the Wizard Battle quest was the 75th quest that was ever created for Fable. So, you might be asking yourself, how do we know that the Wizard Battle quest is numbered as Quest 075? If we use a modding program like Fable Explorer or Chocolate Box, we can open up script.bin and find the cutscene scripts that are used in this quest. The ones that we are looking for under CS Wizard Battle Intro and CS Wizard Battle Death. Every character that speaks in the intro cutscene, for example, during this quest uses a text entry labelled as Quest 075 Maze Introduction. Now that we know this, we can use that naming convention of Quest 075, or to be more specific, a prefix of QST_075 to help us find any dialogue that might have been cut from this particular quest. This is where we stumble upon the text entries that I mentioned earlier, which appear to suggest that you could watch people leaving the town of Hook Coast, with one character in particular being referred to as the Leaving Man in the game files. Here is how the Leaving Man text entry sounds.
Come on, we have to get out, we can't spend another night here!
There's also another line of dialogue that is very similar called the Leaving Woman, so I'm guessing that both of these characters are related in some kind of way. Here is what the dialogue for her text entry sounds like.
I've locked up. Let's go now.
Along with that, there is also dialogue for both male and female villagers. It's a bit unclear on if these text entries were meant for actors that would be used in cutscenes, or NPCs that you would interact with inside of Hook Coast. However, considering most of these text entries use the fear conversation modifier, I am assuming that this is a conversation dialogue for characters that you could interact with inside of the town whilst it was being attacked by screamers. What's very weird is that some of the text entries for the female villagers' dialogue say that the speaker for these text files is line deleted, even though they still have audio attached to them which we can play. Here are the text entries that I could find for the male and female villagers.
No, go back! Flee! There's witchcraft afoot at the old abbey!
Help! These banshees are everywhere!
Have you heard it too? Is that why you came here? Those lights at night, they're not normal. Death lights, the old people say. People haven't been coming to the coast. Word is spreading. Some say it's the work of Jack of Blades.
You've come to fight him, have you? Jack? You really have come to battle him? I don't like what's happening in Hook Coast. It used to be so peaceful. Most people have left the town now, and I won't be here for long.
Calistoro necusararum enoxisum. Calistoro necasarum enoxisium. Eretore.
Whilst we are on the topic about this part of the game, there is another fact which isn't really cut content related, but is still a very interesting thing to know about, which is that for some reason, when they translated this game to other languages like French, Italian, German, and Russian for example, they actually changed the Guildmaster's chants when approaching the magical barrier, even though the dialogue is effectively gibberish anyways. Some of the results of these translations are pretty funny to listen to, with some of them sounding more like the voice actor is humming rather than chanting. An in-depth video about the topic was covered by the Fable speedrunner Etum if you are ever interested in checking it out. Now that we have covered everything that I could find related to the first part of this quest, let's actually focus on the cutscenes involving Maze, Theresa, and Jack of Blades. The first cutscene that we witness when entering the Hook Coast Abbey is known as Wizard Battle Intro and prepares us for our boss fight against Maze. The game also starts unravelling the plot twist that Maze was in fact a traitor to the Heroes Guild and is actually helping Jack of Blades obtain the Sword of Aeons.
Finish the ritual, Maze. I'd like my key now.
It's almost over, and it will be easier with the boy here.
He does this by using the blood of the hero and Theresa to reveal the Septimal Key. Well, similar to the chanting that was used for the Guildmaster to unlock the magical barrier, there was actually an unused text entry which was created for Maze and appears to have the same naming convention as the other text entries that are used in this cutscene. Which would make sense because during this intro cutscene, Maze is using his will energy to perform some type of ritual inside of the Hook Coast Abbey as a requirement for Jack to obtain the Septimal Key. I'm not sure why this text entry was removed, but to me it seems very likely that this chanting was removed from the cutscene because of how long the audio file for it is. Or maybe the developers just thought that there was no point in trying to make it work. Here is how the chanting sounds when added back into the cutscene.
No, she's trying to confuse you.
There is really no time for this, old wizard. Finish the ritual, Maze. I'd like my key now.
It's almost over, and it will be easier with the boy here. Kelek banot seres, hartax phonos faras fere charek, apoctilas supos, delne retok mutos seres hartax phonos varet, apox supos kelak, retok mutos alabalast.
Unfortunately, I couldn't find any unused dialogue for Jack of Blades during this quest. However, I was able to find one line of dialogue that was meant for the hero's sister, Theresa. There is a text entry for this quest which is labelled as Quest 075 Sister Encouragement that seems to be intended for the same cutscene. I'm not sure why exactly this one text entry was removed. However, I have found that there was plenty of cutscenes in the game where Theresa had about 1 or 2 lines of dialogue cut from it, so I can't say that I'm really surprised by this. Like most of the dialogue we have been looking through in this video, it is very possible that it was designed for an earlier version of the Wizard Battle quest, and that the developers felt like it no longer served its intended purpose, so they removed it from the quest. Here is how the text entry sounds when added back into the game.
Surprised? You shouldn't be. Only an idiot would oppose Jack.
This isn't how it ends.
If you recall, in the introduction for this video I briefly hinted at something involving Maze's trophy. This is because there is a very odd detail about the trophy that you can find whilst browsing the game files. When using a program like Chocolabox, we can view game.bin and search for all the objects and creatures that are available in the game files for Fable. If we use the program's search feature and type in object_trophy, then we will be brought to a list of trophies, some of which are still used in the game, and some of them were cut from the final release of the game. The trophy that we are obviously interested in is this one, which says object_trophy_maze_head_01. This is actually the same object entry as the trophy that we get in the retail game, which is called Maze's Clasp when it is in the player's inventory. Unfortunately, if you try to open up the graphics to preview the model within the modding program, then it just spits out an error. What's also odd is that the actual name of the model that the trophy uses is more accurately named Mesh Trophy Maze Buckle 01. But here is the text entries that the object uses, which shows that it is in fact called Maze's Clasp. It is mostly the name of the object entry that we are interested in though. It is very odd that it uses the name Trophy Maze Head. At first I thought this must just be a coincidence. I thought that perhaps it's referring to Maze as the head of the Heroes Guild, or something like that to prove myself wrong. But if we were to compare the name of this object entry with other trophies that are used in the game, then its true meaning becomes more clear. The object name of Object Trophy Maze Head 01 is very similar to other trophies in the game files, like Object Trophy Hob Head 01, which is in fact a trophy that is meant for the Hob Cave quest, where the player receives a Hob's head as a reward for helping the old lady save her grandson James. There's also other objects such as the White Balverine Head, the Regular Balverine Head, the Trader Head, and even the Wasp Head trophies, which are all named in a similar way to Maze's trophy. This leads me to assume that perhaps at one point in development, the developers at Lionhead Studios had actually planned for you to obtain Maze's head as a trophy for completing this quest. There is no model for such a trophy left in the game files, but like most NPCs in the game, Maze has a separate model for his head, so this is an image I managed to cobble together to give you an idea of what that trophy might look like. For some characters, their eyes are also a separate model, which is why he doesn't appear to have any in this image. Everything I have shown you so far in this video, you can find yourself, because it is all content that is still left on the disc of Fable the Lost Chapters. However, in this next part of the video, we will be covering cut content about this quest that you can't find in the game files of the retail game. This here is a formatted version of the text.big file, but it was a text.big file that was from an older version of the game and was hidden away inside of a debug build of Fable. As I mentioned before, Fable has thousands of text entries, and this older version of the text.big file is no exception to that. It contains information about a lot of text files that never made it into the final version of Fable, or ended up being replaced by dialogue that we experience while playing that version of the game. If you pause the video at any time, then you might even notice a few text entries, character names, and dialogue that look familiar to you. Not every text entry was changed. In fact, there seems to be a lot of text entries that are the same as the final version, but a vast majority of dialogue for things like quests were changed throughout the game's development. This means that if I was to cover every quest that changed in one video, then we would be here all day, perhaps even all week. So let's just focus on the Wizard Battle quest, which we now know uses the prefix of QST_075. If we do what we did before and search for this name, then we are surely going to find lines of text for this specific quest. There we go, we have found some dialogue that was meant for this quest. Unfortunately, reading things from this text file is very inconvenient, simply because of how all the text is smushed together like this. Sometimes it can be hard to tell where it starts and where it ends, so I'm going to copy and paste each new or changed text entry into a new document to help make reading these things a bit easier. As you can see here, I managed to extract as many text files that I could, which seem to be different. These cutscenes use a lot of text entries, so it's a little hard to get everything on the screen at once. Since I extracted all of these from a text document, there is obviously no audio associated with them, which means that I can't show you how they were supposed to sound like, but I am going to do my best to read out each of these text entries for you. We have a section here that's dedicated to the Wizard Battle intro cutscene, which are all named Maze Introduction, just like they are in the final version of the game. However, there's a few lines in here which appear to have been changed when Maze is trying to convince you that he is on your side. Almost as though he gives up trying to convince you once Theresa calls him out for it, and just traps you for the ritual anyways. Not only that, but it appears that Jack of Blades wouldn't have made an appearance in this cutscene right up until the septimal key was revealed, which is when he would start to reveal himself to you. Here is what it says for each text entry that I was able to find.
You're alive. Yes, I was worried when you disappeared. Your sister. I know. I had to tie her up. Jack is controlling her somehow. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to stop him.
He's lying. He's the one working for Jack.
No, she's trying to confuse you. She's...
Oh, there's no time for this. The ritual will be easier with you here. You really shouldn't have gone to so much trouble.
Surprised? You shouldn't be. Only an idiot would oppose Jack.
That's what I was. An idiot. To think you would grow powerful enough to defeat him. I didn't have the stomach for what they did to you, village. That's all it was. Yes, I was there when he raided your home. I was left behind to find the remaining descendant of the bloodline, you. I was soft and stupid, surely one with the blood of the ancient kings and heroes coursing through his veins, was destined to end Jack. When in reality, your only destiny was to open the door to the key. You should thank me for finally giving your life some meaning. The key.
The septimal key. You've hidden from me far too long.
It smells of home, but this is just the start. I see you made it to our little gathering. I'm afraid you won't be around for the next part. Take them to the Chamber of Fate, Maze. I shan't be long. And apparently that's where that cutscene would end. It seems very likely that this cutscene would have played out differently to the final version of the game, considering all of the changes that were made to these text entries. Perhaps it's after this dialogue that the sister encouragement text entry, which we looked at earlier, would have came into play, as it heavily implies that Theresa does something to ensure you are safe. Next up, we have a section that appears to be text entries that were completely removed from the game files for the final version of Fable, which is simply called Maze Explanation. I'm not really sure where this dialogue would have actually fitted into the quest. Based on what I've read though, it seems to be an extra part of the intro cutscene where Maze is talking about the hero and Theresa to someone. Considering how this quest plays out, it is very likely that he is speaking to Jack of Blades. If I had to make a guess, I would assume that the part where Maze says, quote, "I must hurry," end quote, is probably him referring to the ritual in order to obtain the septimal key. Here is what each text entry says. You might remember her. She, like her brother, has been a thorn in our side. And now it is all coming together. You, your sister, you were spared for a reason. The time is almost upon us. I must hurry. The last set of text entries on our list are named as Maze Conclusion and were meant to be used for the Wizard Battle death cutscene that triggers after you defeat Maze in a boss fight. Just like with the intro cutscene, there is some dialogue which you might be very familiar with, but there are still some more changes that were made here as well. In these text entries, it implies that Maze is begging for you to spare his life, and even going as far as to say that you are no different to Jack of Blades if you decide to kill him. He would even then try to reason with you by saying that he spared your life as a child, so you should consider sparing his life, despite everything he just said in the intro cutscene. Here is what the maze conclusion dialogue might sound like.
I was wrong. Maybe you are strong enough to defeat Jack. You haven't got much time. He's using the key to activate the focus sites all over Albion. Then the sword will be his, and it'll be too late.
They'll be trying to stop him, but none of them is strong enough. And now you're going to kill me, aren't you? I took you in as a child, remember? I saved you. Go ahead then, kill me. You're no different to Jack. In the end, it's all about death. What? You thought the video was over? No way, man. We still have one more topic to cover before we are finished here. Just recently, a friend of mine and fellow modder of Fable called GameGenie82 managed to get some design documents for Fable. You can find some of them on his Fable Cut Content fan page on Facebook. Links will be in the description. These are documents that the creator of Fable, called Dean Carter, made to plan out how they were going to design the game during the pre-production part of its development. It explains a lot of information such as how the maps were originally meant to be designed, where things like objects, NPCs and shopkeepers would be located, and of course, how each quest in the game was intended to play out. The reason I left this until last is because it's the official guideline for the quest. A lot of the questions which we have had up until this point could very well be answered by these pre-production documents. So, I'm going to read through each page individually for you. The first page we should look at is this early design document for the region map of Hook Coast. The overall shape and style of the map looks very similar to what we are familiar with in the final version of the game. However, there are a lot of changes that they had originally planned for the area. In the top right hand corner of the page it says that we would have entered the town through a secret teleporter, just like we do in the Gateway to Hook Coast quest. That being said, the document states that the teleporter in Hook Coast would have been located right next to a ruined church. Another interesting thing about this segment of the map is that it was meant to be a rockfall which would block the passage to other regions, so it's very possible that during this stage in the game's development they had planned for you to either find more regions that were connected to Hook Coast, or that this passage would lead you back to the other regions in mainland Albion. Then you have all of these buildings in the centre of the map, which seem to be in a similar layout to the final release of the game. However, the house to buy in this document is a lot more closer to the residential area than it is to the lighthouse. You also have 4 stores listed here, with there being a weapon shop, a general store, and then 2 shops which were planned out but never got finalised for this document. Just to the right of the shops is also a boathouse, which if you aren't aware, there was an NPC cut from Hook Coast that was called the Boatman, so it's very likely that this was a house intended for that character. Underneath all these buildings we have a lighthouse which appears to be in the same place as it is in the final release of the game, along with a weirdly shaped pier that's holding a derelict ship. Perhaps this derelict ship is meant to be the broken down Hook Coast ship that can still be found in the game files for Fable the Lost Chapters. And now, in the top left hand corner of the page, we have a big section dedicated to the ruined monastery, which I'm guessing is meant to be the Old Kingdom Abbey from the final version of the game. There's not really a whole lot to say about this, as it just looks like a giant open space. However, there is an entry to Necropolis, which we will get into in just a moment. Here is the first page that they made for designing the Wizard Battle quest, with the title saying Wizard Battle in brackets Maze Core Quest, Region Hook Coast. Here we have script name, which I can't tell if it's meant to be empty or if it's a header for everything that is below. Then we have the brief, which gives you a summary of what we should expect when playing through this quest. Brief. At the ruins near Hook Coast, Maze uses you to open the portal to the necropolis. He then traps you both in slow time and rushes off through Hook Coast. You must battle him along the way, fighting the screamers that he summons, and finally defeat him. Below the brief, we have a list of conditions, characters, enemies, assets, and trophies that they had planned for this specific quest. Success conditions: defeat Maze. Fail conditions: death. Characters used: Maze, sister in brackets Theresa, Jack of Blades. Enemies used: screamers. Specific assets: Old Kingdom portal. Expressions used: none. Expressions learned: none. Quest card: empty. Quest reward: empty. Quest trophy: Maze's items. And then we have a part that says boasts, but it appears that's also empty. So I'm guessing that they just didn't have the time to design some of these things during this stage in the game's development. And now we have script detail, which seems to also be empty. Below that though, we have the intro, which seems to go more in depth about how this quest was meant to start when you arrived in Hook Coast. Intro. Talking to people in Hook Coast, they tell you about the lights in the ruins. You can go on a rumour hunt. People will tell you about the strange goings on, lights appearing in the ruins at night, etc. Since we are at the bottom of the page, I just want to inform you that this text actually continues onto the next page, so if you're wondering why we are slowly transitioning from one page to another, then that is why. Opening the portal. When you go into the ruins of the castle near Hook Coast, you hear deep rumbling sounds from nearby, include Xbox controller vibrations. You would find Maze attempting to open the portal to the necropolis, muttering incantations under his breath. Entering this area triggers a cutscene. Maze is in an open area within the ruins, standing by a pool of glowing water between two monolithic obelisks. Your sister Theresa is standing nearby, hands bound. As you get closer, the rumblings increases, and the symbols on your hands begin to glow. Maze spins around and his bloodshot eyes burn into you. Before you can react, Maze paralyzes you with a powerful magical force. You struggle to get free, but magical energies swirl around you and hold you to the spot. Revelation. Maze has betrayed you and is working for Jack. Maze then binds you to the two obelisks with magical connections, saying that it is your destiny to open the portal to the Old Kingdom. He then begins to perform a ritual, which drains your life force, in brackets experience, from your body, and channels it into a focal point from which the necropolis portal rises. And then there appears to be a note here that says, how do we clearly indicate that experience is being drained from the player? The portal, a door in the very fabric of the universe, buzzes with energy. As Maze is distracted by the portal, your sister shakes with concentration and uses her willpowers to free you from your magical bonds. As this happens, it does so, Jack of Blades appears from the shadows of the ruin. At last, we have the key to the Old Kingdom. The Sword of Aeons will be ours. He grabs your sister, then commands Maze to kill, weaken you, and bring your body to the necropolis. Jack skips through the portal, with your sister in tow, disappearing with a burst of electrical energy. Now that the portal has been opened, the magical bonds holding you to the obelisk fade, releasing you from their hold. I'm guessing that was an early version of what would happen. You are now free from the magical chains, but Maze has another trick up his sleeve. He casts Slow Time, so powerful that you and him are both trapped within it. At the same time, a strange aura/shield appears around the portal. Having broken free, your powers are no longer being focused, and the portal has been destabilized. Also, Maze's Slow Time spell is disrupting it. You cannot escape without a fight, Maze sneers manically. Control now returns to the player. Note: trying to enter the portal proves futile. Note: the player's goal should now be clear. Defeat Maze to dispel the Slow Time curse and reopen the necropolis portal. Again, this last section of the document continues onto the next and final page that we have available for this quest, so just bear that in mind as we make our way to the bottom of the page. Battle in Slow Time. Ruins. Within slow time, Maze now starts to launch further attacks. Firstly, he casts Physical Shield and Mental Shield to protect himself. Then he uses Burning Hands to fight you in close or ranged combat. Long ranged equals fireballs. Once his shields have been destroyed, he retreats. Then he swoops away down towards Hook Coast. Hook Coast. Maze uses Summon to conjure up several Screamers. You can see him ahead, pausing to cast the spell, but you don't see anything appear. Then there will be villagers all around, in brackets slowed down. Some will suddenly turn around, in brackets at normal speed, and reveal themselves as Screamers. Screamers will pursue you, jump from hiding places, and issue blood-curdling shrieks. Their Scream attack drains life force, in brackets i.e. experience, from you, and also sucks any nearby experience orbs towards them. However, any experience gained by a Screamer is dropped in experience orbs created when that Screamer dies, in brackets thus allowing you to regain it. Maze continues up the path towards the Abbey. Inside the Abbey, Maze stops near the teleport and attempts to reactivate it. He uses Lightning Arc to attack you. He also uses Jump to launch himself into the air and fires down upon you. When finally reduced to near zero health, he collapses, in brackets see below. Maze defeated. Cutscene. Maze collapses, crying out in pain. The world drifts out of slow time, returning to normal. Maze lets out an agonizing sigh and angrily spits, "Kill me, go on, finish what you have begun." Control returns to the player. You now have the moral choice. Deliver the final killing blow or leave him to lick his wounds. If you perform the death blow, Maze gasps in pain, but a dark energy seems to seep out of him. With his final breath, he rasps, "Go, hero title, get the Sword of Aeons before Jack of Blades reactivates it. He enslaved me, don't let him enslave the rest of the world." If you do not perform the death blow, the anger drains out of Maze's face, and he utters, "Go, hero title, get the Sword of Aeons before Jack of Blades reactivates it. He enslaved me, don't let him enslave the rest of the world." The hero rushes to the doors of the Abbey, then glances back. Maze's body has gone. The teleport buzzes in the background. The player must then return to the ruins and step into the Old Kingdom portal, in brackets, see Necropolis quest. And below that we have a part that says, non-level based assets needed. Maze, Jack of Blades, Screamers, Necropolis portal, and then it has bullet points for art, animation, code and AI. Based on this design document for the Wizard Battle Quest, it seems that the core idea that they were going for was never really changed. You still entered Hook Coast, fought Screamers, and had cutscenes involving characters like Maze, Jack of Blades, and Theresa. However, we have managed to confirm a lot of the previous dialogue which we had found earlier, like the villagers in the town of Hook Coast who were meant to warn you about the strange lights and noises coming from the Old Kingdom Abbey. The fact that Maze was meant to be seen chanting before you entered the actual ruins themselves, and it mentions Theresa releasing you from your magical binds, which I'm guessing is what the sister encouragement dialogue was intended for. It also has a lot of interesting insights about how they originally planned the quest, such as Screamers being able to not only disguise themselves as villagers before attacking you, but also stealing experience orbs from the player. Maze being able to cast spells such as Slow Time, and a combination of both physical and mental shield whilst you were fighting with him. The choice to either kill or spare him, and then you have the fact that the Necropolis was meant to play a role in the original story. From my understanding, they intended Necropolis to be the real location of the Sword of Aeons. However, the whole area was scrapped from the original game and ended up becoming a part of Fable the Lost Chapters instead. And that covers everything that I could possibly find which was cut from the Wizard Battle Quest in Fable the Lost Chapters. Thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. As always, my sources will be in the description if you want to view anything for yourself. If you enjoyed your time watching it, then please don't forget to show your appreciation by leaving a like or commenting on the video. I would also like to thank my channel members who help support the channel directly. They are Typed Metal, 125, Video Gaming Reaper, Smoky the Bunny, Jarmill Nicholas Hynek, and Sue R.